when they went to the Queen to tell her her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
Who took the bomb?
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, Doug. Welcome, peasants.
Never
Doug,
know what you're going to get for this
Doug
one.
beat Pony Boy and Ron to say good morning in the chat. It's good to have you guys. I know that Doug today is traveling down to D.C. because the Mexicans won't go into D.C. to do construction. So he's driving down from Maryland to go to D.C. to do some construction. Pretty fun. All right, I've got this little video here. And it's kind of not relevant to anything, but it's just kind of one of those impact things. You know, keeping with the theme that we're all peasants, we got to live here. Okay? Like a war can come by your neighborhood and eventually you still got to live there. There's a lot of people right now living and, you know, out there picking their carrots and cucumbers and zucchini on Civil War battlefields. You know what I mean? So this video is out of Ukraine. It's just some drone footage. And what the caption says, for every kilometer.
Hey, that reminds me. Have you ever watched any of those old Vietnam movies and the helicopters are flying around? You always see the peasants down there planting rice.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
They're the peasants.
They're
just
the
like
peasants.
us. We're
Yeah,
living
it's just
here.
we're
They're living there.
While the kings and queens are riding by, we're over in the shops, tink, tink, tink,
Yeah.
building horseshoes for them. You know what I mean?
Right. Planting the rice.
Yeah, planting the rice. Like, oh, well, I guess we'll be speaking English in a generation. You know, turned out we lost. All right. So along the front between Ukraine and Russia, for every kilometer of space, there's 2,900 kilometers of fiber optic cables that have been left behind from their drones.
Oh, geez.
So look at this little video here. Just an overhead view.
It's like a spider web.
Yeah. It's just a spider web. They say this will take decades to clean up, if it ever is fully cleaned up. These are fiber optic lines just running up on top of the trees. Because what was going on was in the beginning of this war, these drones would fly out and they'd use the little EMF and they'd fall to the ground. So then pretty soon the next stage was have a fiber optic cable, so there's no radio frequency, and they would literally let these things unspool thousands of yards, miles, right? Until they'd get to their target. So this is what the front between Ukraine and Russia looks like now. It's just covered, just littered with fiber optic cables. People got to live there. You know what I mean? Like that's an ecological disaster. I don't know how long fiber optic cable takes to break down, or, you know, I don't know if the birds.
It'll be here when we're gone.
I imagine the birds don't really appreciate it as they're trying to fly in and out of the trees and their nests. You know what I mean? And any bird with a long wingspan like an owl is probably having a heck of a time getting fed in that area.
Maybe they'll figure out how to make it into new habitat.
Dude, totally. Yeah, you're going to find it in sparrow nests. It already is. I'm certain of it.
Yeah.
I remember watching this one video where it was like how a $10 or like a $2 pair of scissors kills a $1,000 drone or something like that. And this guy's like laying in the bushes in this drone.
Oh, yeah.
Trees, and as soon as it gets past him, he runs over and he like starts doing this, and he grabs the fiber optic, boom, cuts the line, and then thing blows up like over there. You know, and it's like, wow. This right here was a clip out of Kentucky. This is a this is a state. Let me see what she is. She's a state. Oh, Representative Sarah Stalker. I'm pretty sure she's out of Kentucky. If I'm wrong, sometimes I get this stuff wrong. And she's, you know, talking in a committee hearing or something like this about, you know, how shameful it is to be white. Oh, I need to change my sound, don't I?
Oh, no. Yes.
Give me just a second.
Praying for Washington. Thank you.
Oh my goodness, dude, so much rain. It's been
I'm not even thinking about the rain.
Oh, I was thinking about our politics. Yeah. Yes, please pray. Okay, Berasia, good morning. Mata Easel, mom, hello. All right, here we go. Finally figuring out that that's my mom.
Good about being white every day for a lot of reasons. Because it's a point of privilege. that I get to move through the world in a way that so many of my other colleagues and friends and family members of the community don't get the privilege to do.
Democrats are the most racist people out there. I'm privileged because I'm white. I'm better. I walk around knowing how much better I am than you.
And I'm just a female, but just a woman, just a white woman. If I was a white man, I would be functioning from a point of even greater privilege.
Oh,
I think we're missing an opportunity when kids have a moment to reflect about how the color of their skin does and does not allow them to move through the world. It's running to them and trying to stifle that and trying to say you shouldn't feel bad. So we don't want to ever expose you to something that is going to make you have to pause and have maybe some internal feelings. It's a missed opportunity for some really good dialogue.
I just realized something. Taylor, I just realized something. I've been squandering my privilege.
My white privilege card, like, overdrew.
Yeah.
That's crazy. They're the most, just the thought process. This is disconnected from anything else in the show, right? It's like, well, I had this teed up yesterday and I wanted to go over, but we had to, wrap up promptly. Yeah. And I was like, I'm privileged because I'm white. And I walk around the world knowing that. So you walk around feeling superior, which of course would make you feel guilty because you're not.
Right.
Right. And so then you go around to the black kids. You're like, I know that you're inferior, but, leverage it. Good gravy, man. These people are, again, it's these people, right? Like, I don't even know what they're thinking sometimes. And this mindset as peasants, right? This is the thing that binds us together is our culture and our society and our traditions and our customs and stuff like that. And in America, we have a lot of traditions, law and order. We like heroes. We love heroes. We support victims. We hate bullies. Like, this is normal. This right here is inside a courtroom from somebody that I consider an American hero. Listen to the way this judge is talking. And when I tell you who this is, it might blow your mind a little bit.
You have no qualms with violating the court's orders because you're innocent, because you didn't do anything wrong. You were just doing your job. You have no problem trying to kick an officer. Your explanation about what happened is preposterous. It's on video. You have no problem lying to officers. It's happened multiple times. They're recorded conversations. It's just more lies. No objective person believes them. No, at the end of the day, you cared about the Jets, the podcast, and the people fawning over you. You abdicated your position as a servant to the Constitution, and you chose you over all else. Yes, you are a charlatan, and you cannot help but lie as easy it is for you to breathe. You betrayed your oath for no one other than you. And this is what makes Miss Peters such a danger to our community. It's the position she held that has provided her the pulpit from which she can preach these lies.
This is Tina Peters. This is her sentencing.
Oh.
Keeping a copy of the hard drive that showed election fraud. But you kicked an officer when they tried to arrest you over it. Who is not following their oath? You, Judge, prevented them providing any evidence in this trial.
Undermining of our democratic process. The undermining of the belief and confidence in our election systems. It's not about questioning it. No one says you can't question, you can't ask. It's completely different.
It's completely different to prove it. That you cannot do. That you cannot do. You cannot prove election fraud because society will fall apart.
And if you don't understand that distinction, then there's nothing I can say or do here today that will change your mind.
Oh my gosh.
So the damage that is caused and continue to be caused is just as bad, if not worse, than the physical violence that this court sees on an all too regular basis. And it's particularly damaging when those words come from someone who holds a position of influence like you.
This video goes for another 5 minutes.
Every effort to undermine the integrity of our elections and public's trust in our institutions has been made by you. You've done it from that lectern the voting public provided you with. Everything you've done has been done to retain control, influence. The damage is immeasurable. Every time it gets refuted, every time it's shown to be false, just another tale is weaved.
Is this real? I mean, it sounds like a meme fest.
That is hers. That's what a sentencing here is like. You should, the letter you got from my judge, that's what he read. in my sentencing. And you read it and you're like,
yeah.
Imagine just sitting there.
Oh my
Who's
God.
lying? Who's breaking their oath? Who's enabling our country to be stolen out from under us? You know what I mean? Like, It's one of those. I hate this. I hate it. I hate the fact that we live in a society where second and third order effects have more punishment than the original thing. Listen, if you steal an election, I'll support anything an election worker does to expose it if it turns out to be true. Yeah. Nobody has disproven Tina Peters' evidence. They haven't even taken an attempt at it. They've just thrown her in jail. That's all. Yeah. And yesterday, Donald Trump pardoned Tina Peters. What does that mean, though? Because she's in a Colorado prison.
Right.
So obviously, traditionally, there's been the separation of powers. Federal charges, state charges. The governor can pardon state charges. The president can pardon federal charges. There's an overlap here with this Tina Peters case. This was a federal election. The feds should have jurisdiction, right? If they would have tried to intervene during her trial, tradition would have them have been able to make it a federal case. But of course, Biden wasn't going to intervene and get in the way, because then Trump would have been able to pardon her eventually. Right. And so they've got her locked up in that prison. My knowledge is, as of today, she's on solitary confinement. And likely now that she's been, quote unquote, pardoned, will continue to be on solitary confinement. Wonderful. The governor of Colorado and the attorney general have both come out. We're not letting her out. No way, no how. Trump can't do that. Well, I guess we'll see. And unfortunately, I don't like this because, we talk about precedent, right? And well, the precedent's been set. And my argument a lot of times, we're not setting precedent. The precedent was set. When you do the thing the Democrats have done, you're not setting precedent. You're just following suit.
Well, and how much force do you have to use to remove somebody from a prison?
It wouldn't take much in reality. You send 30, 40, 50 marshals, she's walking out of there, because the guards in there aren't going to stand up to the marshals, because then they might end up in a federal suit.
Well, what if the state does something stupid?
Good question. Good question. This sets up clearly what's going to happen is this is going to go to the Supreme Court probably pretty quickly, because if she's pardoned and she should be free, then every second she's in there, her civil rights are being violated. Oh, yeah. So likely the Supreme Court will.
And they are.
And you could flip a coin as to how they're going to decide on this, right? I don't think that they're going to totally be like, oh, feds can pardon state charges. But if the feds have jurisdiction over those state charges, they might be able to. The other thing that this does, too, is this would prevent, for example, one of the big concerns amongst January 6ers, because people like the attorney general in Pennsylvania have said, well, we're going to bring state charges against the January 6ers now. Right. And so it's like, well, I want my federal pardon to cover any alleged state. You know what I mean? Yeah. So it's for me, it's like 50-50. I don't know how it's going to go. But that's going on. And the vitriol of which they went after Tina Peters, you just listen to the rest of that sentencing the judge did. It makes your skin crawl. Yeah. It's like they completely ignore the bigger issue. Well, you kicked a cop. Well, why was the cop arresting me? You know what I mean?
Why was he talking to me at all?
You know what's really hilarious is the guys that get the biggest settlements when they get falsely imprisoned or falsely arrested are the ones who fought the cops the hardest. Like, you'd think they'd have felony charges for assault and battery. But what happens is if the cop is found to have acted improperly to detain that person, you have a duty to fight back. Yeah. And anything you do to fight back is viewed as self-defense. Yeah. Right. There are actually a couple random cases out there where cops were killed in the process of illegally detaining and arresting someone, and that person was found innocent. Oof. You can defend your life. And when you're being detained and arrested, that is your life. Now, you can choose to act differently. The odds are not in your favor if you act improperly.
No, they're not.
But the reality is it's fruit of the poisonous tree. I saw this in Missouri while I was in prison there. There were two inmates that had death sentences in Missouri state prisons. And, as they went through their appeals, they were found innocent. Not a technicality error. They were found innocent. Okay. So the judges said, innocent, case dismissed, released from prison. Andrew Bailey, who's now the co-deputy director of the FBI, who was the attorney general in Missouri when I was there, petitioned the court to keep them in because, they'd committed offenses while they were in prison. They'd gotten in trouble while they were in prison. One of them had been in for 20 years. They were trying to use their prison record as justification to keep them on death row, Ron. That's Andrew Bailey, your co-director of the FBI. Okay. Now, this creates all kinds of consternation for us peasants because you never know when you're going to end up in the crosshairs of an unjust government. And I do believe we have an administration right now that's really trying to bring back law and order. Just follow the laws. If you don't like the laws, change them. This is Kristi Noem essentially saying just that yesterday in her House hearing.
I think it's shameful to see the defense of individuals who break our laws. We are a nation of laws. If we are not a nation of laws, we're no nation at all. And that is what we are doing every day, is following those. If you guys don't like the law.
The problem is when the government defends the lawbreakers, aka the election stealers or the violent criminals that get shorter sentences, right? That is a nation of laws where there's some reasonableness in it, not what we're experiencing today where things get weaponized.
If you guys don't like the law, go change it. That's your job. You don't complain. I was raised by a dad who said we don't complain about things. We fix them. Well, go fix them. If you don't like the law, quit bellyaching, quit hitting and attacking our ICE officers, quit going out and protesting and screaming vile things at them, quit calling them names. We wouldn't let our children do that. Go do something that actually matters by having an honest debate and changing the law. That's your jobs. You all should be fired, in my viewpoint.
Carlite says, Buenos dias from sunny beaches in Puerto Rico. And I say, deport them all. Puerto Ricans I spent a decent amount of time in Puerto Rico because I had a son that was born there prematurely and passed away there. But yeah, Puerto Rico is really funny because you're in America. It's a territory. Everybody's a citizen, but it is not the United States. It's not Chinatown. I mean, you're not in America. You're clearly in Puerto Rico.
The goods and services are different.
The goods and services are different, and the language is different. Oddly enough, it's weird, but yeah, kind of a cool place. Okay, so change the laws, right? We're a nation of law and orders. You're the legislature. Don't tell me not to enforce a law. Change it. You've got the ability to do it. Change it, right? It's incredibly important for America to stay on top, for our culture to prevail, because our culture is what's literally holding up the Western civilization. And what is Western civilization? Because we say these phrases and we don't always understand what it means. When we talk about the Eastern civilizations, by and large, are collectivist, okay? They don't necessarily believe in the individual and that the individual is sovereign from his local society. Okay. Right. You're part of a tribe. Whoever the chieftain is, the president, the king, the emperor, whatever, is it's patriarchal. Right. It's not merit based always. It's patriarchal. Now, the East has westernized. India is obviously a big democracy and things like that. But very much the Eastern philosophy is based around some collectivism. In the West, we developed liberalism. What is liberalism? It's the belief that your soul is inherently good. It's the belief, well, unless you're Catholic, then you believe it might be fallen in original sin. But beyond that, it's the idea that you are individually created by your creator and that you yourself have your own consciousness, your own mind, and you can make your own decisions. That distinguishes the East from the West. In the East, you don't always get to make your own decisions. Okay? In the West, we support the individual. Now, how they go in fit in society starts with that individual choice. So liberalism leads to volunteerism. It leads to Republican forms of government or democracies, right? But the idea that my vote matters, that we're all equal, and maybe collectively we can come together, but there has to be some mechanism where I volunteer, where I enter into a political society and a political association. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. Our founding fathers understood this. That's why they were able to say, look, I get that you're the king, but we happen to also be kings in our own households. So, you know what I mean? Like, all men are created equal. It's obvious when
we'll let you have one vote.
Yeah. So we'll let you have one vote. So when we talk about Western civilization, we're literally talking about the individual. We're talking about the fact that you get to make your choices. Okay. So when Elon Musk is here talking about how America has to survive because the whole West depends on it, this is deadly serious.
If America is not strong, then what do businesses matter? America is the central pillar that holds up a Western civilization. And if that pillar falls, everything falls.
So you were one of the founders, the two founders.
Yeah. If America falls, everything falls. America is propping up the zeitgeist that you matter. If you get out of that Western bubble, you no longer matter. Look at the way that Islam treats their soldiers as fodder. And I shouldn't say Islam, Muslim nations, they treat their soldiers as fodder. I'll never forget hearing from a a military person. He was in the army, but he was overseas in Afghanistan. And they had some Taliban farmer. It wasn't Taliban, it was just Afghani farmer. But he's out there farming his field and he's got this tractor, right? And he's plowing. It's not big, he said. It was, probably no bigger than your tractor right here, right?
Yep.
But he's pulling a rototiller, and out in front of the tractor, he's got his children walking.
Oh, geez.
And the soldier goes,
I know exactly what this is all about. Oh my gosh.
And the soldier's like, what's going on here? And he's like, well, I can replace my kids, but I can't replace my tractor. He's got his kids out there looking for landmines.
Yeah.
Walking in front of the tractor.
Yeah.
Okay. That is incomprehensible in the West. It's incomprehensible. But in the East, you might have to lose a kid or two to make sure the tractor sticks around so I can feed the family. I understand the math.
Yeah.
But that's where the West is different. We're on the verge of losing that. Europe, as according to Donald Trump and his national security plan, is 20 years away from being an irrelevant civilization. Total civilizational collapse. They're beyond the point of, unless they do dramatic policy changes in order to deport or whatever, they're on the verge of kind of losing the West because they're importing these other ideologies and there's no effort to try to change the mindset. So I know sometimes, when we look at this, the whole peasant's perspective is we've got to sit here and live here while they do their thing. But their things sometimes do have real effect on us, right?
As of late.
Yeah. And so we really want to be able to see it for what it is because we still live in a country where you volunteer. You still do. And it's easy to see it. Go look at the Amish. They don't volunteer. Why don't you live that way? Well, I don't know. You can. You can be Amish with a cell phone and a utility contract and a mortgage. Right? But you don't have to volunteer for every other little thing. You don't have to be that captive person. Donald Trump was talking to members of Europe because now it's becoming very, very clear. Europe has a military industrial complex just like we do, and they have an influence complex almost more than we do. And they really want to go to war with Russia. They really want to defend Ukraine and do that whole thing. And Trump's wiping his hands of it, right? And he's saying, listen, you guys got to get smart. What are we doing in Ukraine? Okay. And he was telling him, because he's basically given Zelensky till Christmas to figure out the peace deal. He's pulling all U.S. support, which means Ukraine's done. Like if Russia wanted to take all of Ukraine, he's telling NATO and Europe, yeah, go ahead, defend it. We'll sell you anything you want, but we aren't supporting it or advising it because we're on the verge of World War III.
I have a great relationship with the countries of Europe. As you know, I took GDP. I took what they're spending as a percentage of GDP, but it was at 2 and they weren't paying, and now it's at 5 and everybody's amazed. But that 5% is, a lot of it's coming back to the United States. With that being said, I'd like to see the killing stop. 25,000 people died last month, soldiers, mostly soldiers, but some people also where bombs were dropped. But for the most part, 25,000 soldiers died last month. I would love to see it stop. And we're working very hard. It doesn't really affect the United States unless it got out of control. A thing like that, as you probably know, because you are a professional, a real professional, which is something I don't say about a lot of other people, but you are a great professional. Things like this end up in third world wars. And I told that the other day. I said, everybody keeps playing games like this. You'll end up in a third world war. And we don't want to see that happen.
25,000 people died last month in that conflict. 25. Think of the scale of that. That's larger than the population of North Kitsap. That's everybody being gone.
Yeah.
That's huge. It has to stop because the liberal West, who believes in the individual, is like, what's the math on this?
Yeah.
I mean, are we really fighting over? I get it. You got territorial integrity. I get it. Right. But some of those people voted to become part of Russia. They were, you know what I mean? Like the Crimea area. This has been going on for a while. It's just not our business. Yeah. People don't realize how quick things can fall apart if we don't follow the laws. Back in Kristi Noem's hearing, do you remember? So showing on my screen here, go ahead and show it. So this woman right here, she's the woman that's under federal indictment for assault on a federal officer because she went and protested at an ICE facility. So she got a chance to cross-examine Kristi Noem. It's kind of an interesting interchange here.
Officials' assessment.
Excuse
The
me.
United States has been
It's the guy next to her, Tim Kennedy, is talking. She talks next.
Okay.
operating in a heightened threat environment for several years now.
Yes.
Yes or no? Would you say New York City is susceptible to these kinds of security threats?
Yes, and that's why they should spend.
So with New York City being
$440
the
million
number
they
one
had in
terrorist
reserves,
target in the
the
nation,
federal government gave them
with
to
New
use
York
to
City
secure
being
their
the number
city,
one, I reclaim
they
my
did
time.
not
With New York
spend.
City being the number
Did not
one
spend the
security
hundreds of
threat in this
millions of dollars
nation,
they had
it's
to secure
unconscionable
their city
that you
and
would
to
cut
release criminals on the street each and every day.
$134 million in urban area security initiative funding for the city of New York. What compelled you to knowingly make our cities less safe with these funding cuts?
What compelled?
Okay, so the Trump administration has come in. They've cut tons of funding for these safety initiatives and stuff like that. Now, we get the buzzwords at this point. $141 million for safety initiatives in the North neighborhood. Dude, you could remodel the entire neighborhood for that. So where's the money going, right? First of all.
Yeah.
And if we've been giving this money and been supplying it, why is New York still the number one terror threat? Okay. This is now where Christie makes her real point.
You, your mayor, and your governor to release thousands of criminals on the streets rather than to turn them over to ICE. You'd rather release
Secretary
a
Noem,
murderer out on
Secretary
your
Noem,
street.
you cut
a rapist on your
$134
street,
million
and honor our detainers.
in
You should
funds
honor our detainers.
The money means nothing when you leave the criminals on the streets.
Jeez.
The money means nothing, military industrial complex, when 25,000 people are dying.
Remind me of who
a
that
month.
dude was. That's somebody from New York.
Yeah, he's a representative from New York.
And he feels like he gets to yell at the secretary.
Yeah, well, she talked over him. That
shot our
was
national-
kind of some
Yeah,
chaos.
that was kind of annoying.
This is Mr. Bernie Thompson, one of the chairmen of the J6 committee. This guy's a real work of art. Okay. And now you remember it was just a few weeks ago, a Islamic extremist from Afghanistan that was enabled by the CIA to be on a death squad was brought into Washington state and put up in free public paid housing up in Bellingham, Washington, and drove all the way across the country and shot 2 National Guardsmen blocks from the White
With a
House in the
revolver.
head. With a revolver in the head. Now, Bernie Thompson, he doesn't think that that's any kind of an act of terror. It's just an unfortunate event.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist.
no, wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can.
He shot our
respond.
National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness
It wasn't a forklift accident. Okay.
to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate
Ask, not
Sure.
axe. Ask.
situation. Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC.
So he's basically, that was the clip right there. So he's like, well, it was an unfortunate situation. Tulsi Gabbard responded to that this morning. And again, just painting the problem. We can see the problems, but yet we're incapable of fixing anything because the people who are supposed to fix it can't even acknowledge what a terror attack looks like. It was an unfortunate event. Well, it's not a forklift accident. You know what I mean?
It's not a fender bender.
Yeah, which causes us to have breakdowns in rule of law.
It is absolutely infuriating. This is someone who is a very, very senior leader in Congress, who for a long time has led the Homeland Security Committee in Congress. And the fact that he cannot and refuses to directly identify this attack for what it was, a terrorist attack on our own soil against our National Guard men and women in this case, who are putting their lives on the line. Their direct mission was to keep the American people safe right here on our streets in Washington, D.C. This exchange really points to the egregious and longstanding problem, Brian, that we've seen, which is leaders, some on both sides of the aisle, who refuse to identify this Islamist terrorist threat for exactly what it is, which is one of the reasons why we find ourselves in the position that we're in today. It is absolutely
because we won't
infuriating.
see it for what it is.
How many hour drive is it from Washington to DC?
It's like 3,000 miles. It's
I know.
not a short drive.
That is a freaking long
it's a 2-day
accident.
or 3-day drive. Yeah, it's a long drive.
It's like 3-4 days.
Yeah. So, you know, this was, when you have elected officials and you have government officials who can't clearly identify a simple terrorist attack, it doesn't get any more clear than that, right? When you have elected officials and government officials who can't identify what is a crime or what isn't, or you have a judge out in Colorado that thinks that election fraud is, you know, not as important as the fact that you kicked an officer and, you know, are making people question the integrity of the election. You can question it, but you cannot prove that the election was stolen. That would cause chaos and civil disorder. You're right. You're right. Because all the virtuous people who have been raised to have this guilt complex that they got to follow the law and, you know, drive the speed limit and stop at the stop sign when nobody's around, because that's what America does. I mean, how many times have you stopped at a stop sign on country roads where there's not another car for miles?
Oh, a few times.
And why'd you do it?
I'm not going to admit to not doing it.
And why'd you do it? Because there was a stop sign.
Yeah.
Hey, if you have, you know, crimes, maybe we should just address them directly. You know, hey, if somebody's bringing drugs and that's killing our kids, maybe we should punish the drug dealers. But you've got media, you've got Democrats, even with this stuff going on in the Caribbean, blowing narco boats out of the water or confiscating this oil tanker. You've got media, which are clearly on the side of the Democrats and whatever that's going on, that can't even identify the difference between a fishing boat and a drug boat.
If you can seize a tanker without killing anyone,
What's that?
if you can seize an oil tanker without killing anyone, shouldn't that have been the way that these fishing boats were also stopped?
Fishing boats? What is a fishing boat?
Well,
The drug runners?
The drug runners.
Those aren't fishing boats.
Yeah, but
Those aren't fishing boats.
if you can
They're
seize a vessel
they're
without violence,
turbocharged. Okay. Well, let's talk about Article 2 authority. The president, as the commander in chief, has identified and designated terrorist organizations who are cartels.
Those aren't fishing boats. Those are turbocharged drug running boats. They've got 4 engines on the back that say 250 on them, which, by the way, if you want to know the cost of an outboard engine, add a 0 or add 2 zeros to the horsepower. So you got 2 $25,000 or 4 $25,000 motors on the back. These aren't fishing boats. Open hole, by the way. Open hole. No fishing poles. No fishing poles.
Who run drugs that kill 100,000 Americans a year. So there's no legal question that he has the legal ability to blow those boats out of the water, and they will continue. This, however, these were economic sanctions by the president as delegated by Congress. Those were enforced by civil authorities with the aid of the U.S. Navy. So we're talking about 2 very different things. But if you're asking me if I have sympathy for narco-terrorists killing Americans whose boats that are carrying the drugs that kill Americans, I don't. I have sympathy for my neighbors in Missouri who've been poisoned, who die. And we finally have a president who cares about them more than the Democrats care about going down to El Salvador to drink margaritas with terrorists.
Senator,
that's how I feel about it.
Do you believe that the Trump administration should try to overthrow Maduro's regime?
That's not, we're not talking about that at all. We're talking about actually enforcing sanctions. And so, and again, sort of letting the world know that we have important interests in our own hemisphere.
But it is something the administration is weighing. The president was talking about.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, that's an assertion you're making.
Senator Hawley has expressed opposition to this.
So he sees it clearly. Hawley sees it clearly. I'm telling you, Missouri is the conservative capital of the world right now. Like all the best legal minds.
I'm just having the realization that I don't think I could be a politician like this guy because I'd be punching.
They've become desensitized to the stupidity, clearly. And yeah, I mean, so do you remember back in Seattle in 2020, that whole Chaz Chop incident?
Do I?
Do we? Yeah. Before I move on to that, Pray the Rosary Daily axe. Yes, that's right. Bernie Thompson says, can you axe the... I saw this video where some black guy was like, name one thing a white person can do that a black person can. And then the next clip was like an enunciation video, and it was like, A-S-K, ask. And then it went back to the black guy, and he's like, I don't know why they say it like that. I don't know. I don't get it.
I don't know.
I don't know. I'm from the Intermountain West. I oftentimes don't say my T's in the middle of words. So for example, it's mountains, not mountains.
All right.
Anyways, okay. So back when the Chaz Chop incident happened, Right. I don't remember how many weeks it was. Memory escapes me. It was 2, 3, 4 weeks, whatever it was.
It was longer than that.
Yeah. And they took over some city blocks, and it started out Summer of Love. And we're just going to let these, basically a big glorified homeless encampment that just attracted a lot of street festival weirdos during the afternoon. It's Summer of Love. Look, everybody's just transgender, and, you know, men are holding men's hands, and it's just awesome. Right. But then at night, things got a little crazy, because that's when, you know,
open air drug market.
Yeah, normal people went home, and during the night it was open air drug market. There was rapes, there was assaults, there was prostitution, and ultimately murders. Yes. So what happened that night was some black teenagers made their way through Seattle, made over there to where Chaz Chop was, and they basically drove around some of the barricades that had been placed out to keep traffic from coming in. And when they did that, the Chaz Chop security, if you remember, there's videos of guys handing out AK-47s and AR-15s out of a Tesla trunk, right? Warlord, Chaz Warlord, right? So the security team, who's supposed to be providing security, law and order and everything, opened fire on this car. Woof. They were lost, trying to figure out how to get out. And it's, you know, middle of the, I don't know, midnight, 1 a.m, whatever it was. Kids were up to no good anyways, but they got shot, murdered right there. Okay. So initially, Chaz Chop, on the video that, you know, as everybody's got a cell phone recording, is the white supremacists are coming in to kill us. Kill them, kill them, kill them. So they shoot them. And then when they go to the vehicle to, we killed the whitey, there's 2 black kids laying there bleeding out. Oh my gosh, we killed some black kids. Well, then people are like, pick up the shell casings, do this, do that. 911 gets called. Fire department shows up. Fire department turns around. We're not allowed to go into Chaz Chop. So the guy sat there dying, you know, dead in the car. The crime scene was completely, you know, tampered with. And then ultimately what happened was when the investigators got called out, they were told not to go in to the crime scene. So yesterday, the family started a trial against the city of Seattle, you know, wrongful death suit and failure to provide protection, et cetera. And this is the investigator from Seattle PD testifying about just that.
So Detective Cruz, on June 29th, 2020, you were notified of this shooting at around 4 a.m. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what time did you arrive at the scene?
7:45, I believe it was.
So the shot happened at like 2 or 3 in the morning.
So that's probably close to a 5-hour delay. Is that correct?
3 a.m. was the time of the call, I believe. And then we arrived at 7:45. 4 hours, 45 minutes approximately.
Did you request immediate access to the scene?
I was immediately told that I did not have access to the scene.
So
because they took over our city, Ron.
Why is it that it took approximately 5 hours to enter the scene?
There was an order for us to not enter the scene.
Where did that order come from?
It came from Chief Mahaffey.
That was the Seattle police chief.
How did that make you feel?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
So, did you agree with Chief Mahaffey's order?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Did you agree? Clearly not. So what happened was, in the interim time, usually as soon as the call comes out, the first police show up, they secure the crime scene. You have to maintain the integrity of the crime scene. By the time these guys got there, the casings had been picked up, the bodies had been tampered with, nothing was viable. Nothing would survive chain of custody, nothing. And to this day, no one has been charged with those murders.
Oh, wonderful.
Those people pay property taxes that live in there. They were held hostage by that. They had to, like, people were using electricity on the street, forcing them to run extension cords outdoors so they couldn't lock their doors at night. What do you pay property taxes for if not for fire services and police services? But there was a no-go zone in an American city. How many apartment buildings is it okay for Tren de Agua to take over? How many blocks of our cities is it okay for them to take over? It wasn't the summer of love. Rape, murder, burglary, arson. I don't know if arson is, I don't know.
Well, remember when they took over the local police department there too? I mean, they took over the police station.
The police precinct was right there. Yes. So we can go, well, that's a breakdown in law and order.
Duh.
So the people that are telling us, hey, you got to follow the laws. Well, I thought we had a law in the book that said that you had to respond to murders. You know what I mean? Now, the government, we know this because we've been covering this for years now. The government's clearly fractured from within, right? You've got people inside the government that are every bit as much a criminal as anybody on the outside. You think Tina Peter overreacted when she kicked a cop? Imagine being an FBI agent releasing information on ICE officers so that they can be attacked.
Tom Holman. Tom, where are these leaks coming from?
Well, look, we think it's coming from inside. And we know the first leak of Aurora is under current investigation. We think we identified that person under investigation right now. The California leak, Secretary Noem, she's correct. Some of the information we're receiving tends to lead toward the FBI. But I talked to the Deputy Attorney General all this weekend. They've opened up a criminal investigation. And they have promised that not only this person lose their job and lose their pension, they're going to go to jail. They're going to criminally prosecute. So we're all over it.
Thank goodness. I wonder how many people in the Seattle Police Department and the Seattle City Council and the mayor's office went to prison. Do you know?
Yeah, I know. 0.
When government holds government workers accountable and there's a legit thing there and it's not weaponization, it's usually horrendous.
Well, recall when there was some questions coming up, a lot of people's phone records all got deleted.
Yes, they deleted everything. The cover-up acknowledges.
And these were public records.
Public records.
This was not private information. Public records got deleted. Lots, like years worth.
Yes. So we have to be a nation of law and order. We have to be treated equally under the law. Otherwise, society does break down. As sure as the sun rises in the morning and sets in the evening, society will break down. We have to have a high trust society. We want to have law and order implemented. Unfortunately, the people who get affected when law and order gets implemented are the people that have been corrupt and criminally minded. And it appears to me a large portion of our government, at least, when I say a large portion, I don't know if that's 50%, but some percentage, which is too big, opposes the application and enforcement of our laws. I came to this whole realization over this tanker being confiscated. They're like, oh, we're just imposing sanctions. That tanker's been sanctioned for years. I'm like, so you're telling me for years that thing has been crossing the ocean into Iran as a sanctioned tanker and no one did anything about it? Yeah. No, but don't worry. We signed a piece of paper way back then. I'm sure there was a press release.
How many more are there?
If that thing ever pulled into an American port, I'm sure they would have seized it.
How many more of these are there?
Oh, there's dozens more like this. Yeah. Venezuela itself has like 6 or 7 of these tankers. So this is just the first one. But they're all sanctioned. These are ghost boats. Right. And so it's like, it's not even an act of war. When people are like, what's an act of war? It's like, no, this is like international contracts. Like this is being enforced the way it was supposed to be forced. They put up the sanction, so many days go by and then they go out and collect it. Unfortunately, they just, never followed through. So a law that's not enforced is not really a law. I guess we're following through. Yeah. A law that's not enforced is not really a law. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So now the Democrats are starting to get real antsy about trying to impeach Donald Trump. The walls are closing in. To use James Carville's phrase, the walls are closing in. So again, Trump's had articles of impeachment filed against him. So has Kristi Noem, and so has one of the others, right? Now, this is what kills me. Donald Trump was impeached twice. And then when Republicans get in power and have the House and the Senate, how many times did Biden get impeached?
0.
Were there not like 1,009 reasons to impeach Biden?
Yes.
Okay. I mean, we're to the point now they've voided all of his auto pins, which, by the way, if those auto pin executive orders, blah, 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 are still in effect, that's a violation of law now too, right? So yesterday, the House voted to impeach Trump. This is the second time they've done it since he's been in office.
Joining with Republicans to vote yes. Another 47 voted present so that they wouldn't be seen as supporting President Trump and angering their base. That included House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Democratic Whip Catherine Clark, and the Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar.
which those guys are definitely yes votes if he ever actually ggets impeached, right?
They said impeachment should be a sacred tool. It requires comprehensive investigations, including hearings. And overall, the Democrats are pretty frustrated that their colleagues are beginning to weaponize impeachment. One senior Democratic member telling Axios, quote, "It feels like a lot of people are using the impeachment stuff as a campaign tactic." Now, although this attempt by Congressman Green was defeated, it represented a big shift in the numbers from his last impeachment resolution in June, which had 79 members voting with him. This time he got 140 Democrats on board. Meantime, cabinet members like Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, and RFK Jr. are facing their own impeachment threats. Join in with
this really is all about campaigning for money. They're like, look how hard I go in the paint for, I'm impeaching you know
what it reminds me of? It reminds me of in the circus, you get those carnival guys that swallow a bunch of alcohol and then blow the fire.
Yes.
But every now and then the fire works back into their mouth and blows their cheeks out. Have you seen that? Okay.
No,
it's a problem.
Seen that.
Yeah, it's a real problem. That's why we don't just do it for fun at home. Like specialists at the carnival are blowing flames because it can work back in. Okay.
Oof.
Yeah, it's a real big deal. That's kind of how this feels. Okay? It's kind of how it feels, but you're playing with fire. So yeah, we're doing it for campaigns. Well, what if you get enough votes? And also, yeah, like Hakeem Jeffrey says, impeachment should be sacred. Okay. But it should be reserved for when you really need it. And guess what? We really needed it with Alejandro Mayorkas. He actually was impeached by the House. And then the Senate was like, nah. Right? So Kristi Noem was asked to resign if she is not impeached. And she leaned into it. This is what we should all be doing.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies.
Deported. Go home. You got to go home. I can't understand you correctly.
The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security. If you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
When morons are asking you to resign, you just lean into it. So this is Alex DeGrassi, a GOP strategist, talking about what just happened in Indiana yesterday. They were supposed to redistrict. They had a map. They were going to go solid red. And the Republicans apparently struck a deal with neighboring Maryland. Or I don't even know if Maryland's, it's not neighboring. But they struck a deal with Maryland, which makes no sense.
I mean, I'm not going to make excuses, but I think the reality is.
Are you saying the scoop here? Hang on. Are you saying the scoop here is that the Indiana Republicans reached out to Westmore and agreed that Westmore will not try to push for 8-0 in Maryland, and they won't try to push here? That's the deal they cut?
So these two states struck a deal. Let's not redistrict or change anything, and we'll just stay the same, right? Except there's a problem. The Republicans, once again, got fleeced.
Being reported. So they reached out to this guy, Bob Ferguson, name I've never heard of, but it's now breaking on the internet. He's, I think, their state Senate president. And the reality, Steve, is they tricked them and said, hey, we're not going to redistrict if you don't redistrict. And the reality is they can't redistrict in Maryland because they get tossed, and we would probably actually pick up a seat there or two with the Supreme Court, which Republicans control, and they know that. And so we would have actually liked that because we could have actually picked up 4 seats with this little equation, 2 in Indiana and possibly another 1 or 2 in Maryland, to be frank with you. And so that's a huge, I mean, this is coming out on the internet. I mean, literally as I'm getting ready to go on the show, as I'm waiting.
So the Republicans, like idiots, were like, yeah, we won't redistrict. So you guys don't redistrict, except if Maryland redistrict, we would have picked up some seats.
Watching the court situation, it's that they got totally played, or this guy is totally bought and paid for and corrupt. I mean, it sounds like both, most likely.
Yeah.
So what type of Republican, Steve, okay, who's in touch with the White House is reaching out to Democrats to cut a deal? I mean, these are vicious, psychotic people that we're up against. And I think, look, turning point, there were a lot of groups here on the ground working. I think it's tough to control these things, obviously, from afar. And I think it's a wake-up call for everyone that it's going to take a lot of effort, a lot of shoulders to the wheel to really rid ourselves of this taint within our own party. People that are willing to put the Democrats first and, put the House majority at risk. I mean, this is really sick stuff, Steve. This is really sick.
It's not the House majority. They want to get rid of Trump. They don't mind sacrificing the House to take care of Trump. Today, it couldn't be more evident. Let's just
They
say
don't mind sacrificing the House to take care of Trump. They don't mind sacrificing you to get to him.
Was there any kind of a public process with these people who are making these deals between these two states?
No, they vote and they have committee meetings, but all the stuff is cut in the back room.
Right. And then the public finds out after the fact, when nothing can be done, of how stupid this deal is. Why are we doing it this way?
And then there's no punishment. Probably already right now, there's a bunch of internet sleuths going over Bob Ferguson from Maryland and finding out who he is. And he was in a hotel room. And it's like, do something. Okay. John Thune, the House or the Senate president or whatever. No, he's not Senate president. It's the VP. It's whatever he is, majority leader. Senate majority leader. Trump put out the statement a couple days ago, basically saying Grassley hasn't gotten rid of this blue slip thing. And he was calling directly on John Thune to eliminate it and get his district judges and state attorneys appointed, right? Federal state attorneys. We had another resignation like Alina Habba. We had another one of these resignations out of Delaware where they haven't been able to get appointed. And the judges have essentially iced them out of being able to practice law. Imagine that. You're in a jurisdiction where the federal government is basically tied up, can't put drug dealers in prison, can't arrest, kidnappers or do anything because the attorney that the president appointed is being blocked by those blue state senators, which are really angling for impeachment and are using law and order and the chaos that lack of law and order creates in their districts to turn around and be like, look, Trump hasn't fixed our problems. He's made them worse, actually. That's what's going on in Washington. We're going to get to this later, but when we talk about gas prices, like no one's jumping up and down for gas prices here, but in other parts of the world, they're celebrating. Okay. So this is John Thune when he's being asked about the blue slips, right? We got to get these judges through. Mili. In Portuguese, there's a word called mole, right? Someone is mole. It's like soft, wet noodle. Okay. Like you got no backbone, but yet that's not really the case here with Thune. He's got a backbone. He's just got a backbone to defend the Democrats. That's what I don't understand about this. You had 4 years of Biden. It cannot get worse. Mass illegal immigration, total breakdown of law and order, weaponization of government. And these guys are concerned about what if they get back in power? So you're playing nice? No, put them in blankety blank prison. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Win the game. Win the game. That's what you got to do. Win the game. So here's John Thune basically saying, I don't want to win.
Asking Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a fantastic guy, to get something done, ideally the termination of blue slips. Too many great Republicans are being sent packing. None are getting approved and signed. President DJT. Can you explain to people just real quickly what a blue slip is, and are you going to do something that will deal with his concerns?
Well, this is something that applies just to district court judges and U.S. attorneys, and it allows individuals, the senators from those states, to be able to sign off on the people who are nominated to those positions. That doesn't apply to circuit court judges, obviously doesn't apply to Supreme Court judges. And we have moved his nominees through the process at a record rate. We will, by the end of this year, have a record number of his nominees approved to the executive branch. Got his cabinet confirmed at the fastest rate possible. We'll continue to work on the judiciary, Dana, but this is a procedure that's been in place for a long time that both Republicans and Democrats support because it gives them some input, particularly in those judges, the judicial appointments that are made in their individual states, some input into that decision-making process.
So you don't anticipate changing it?
I don't think it's going to change. It's been in place for a long time. And like I said, there are Republicans on the Judiciary Committee and off the Judiciary Committee, for that matter, who support this and support it strongly.
It's a protection racket. 100%. It's not constitutional. It makes no sense other than as a Democrat senator, you get to approve the district judges and the attorneys who would be used to prosecute you.
So why don't we have red slips?
The Democrats call them blue slips too. It's just blue slips,
okay.
Right? It's this idea that the home state senators get to sign off. They get a veto vote.
Yeah, this doesn't make any sense at all.
Exactly. So you've got these states that are wildly corrupt, Illinois, New York, Washington State, Oregon, California, and you can't get a federal prosecutor or district judges in there that will actually uphold the law or do it because they're beholden to the senators for their jobs.
Oh, this makes less then no sense.
I know. You'd think that when we vote for a president, he gets his cabinet, it's advice and consent of the Senate, which basically means approve them, but tell us if there's anything you're concerned about. Okay. That's what it means. RFK was sitting down with, Decision Desk 24. This is a little bit of an older clip.
You're a lawyer and an actor.
Not being an expert in science and stuff like that. And RFK has the best response to this. And this is incredibly important for us as Americans to get in our heads. As peasants, we are in an unfortunate situation because we're often told to trust the experts.
Right.
Peasants are keenly aware of, we know what we don't know. Right. I don't know the law, so I hire an attorney. I don't know, medicine, so I hire a doctor. Totally normal, right? People have certain expertises.
Right.
But we eventually get into a spot where we start to trust the labels. I go to the doctor and I'm like, oh, he's a doctor. He's good. Well, did he graduate at the top of the class or the bottom of the class? What university did he go to? You know what I mean? Like, there's lot of questions you can ask.
There's an old joke. It's what do you call a guy that graduates from medical school with a 3.0 GPA?
Doctor. Exactly. C's get degrees.
That's right.
So obviously it's easy to just say, well, the expert label or the certification or accreditation means very little. And that's what RFK is saying here. It's like, listen, Americans have to do their own research. We have to start trusting ourselves. We've allowed them to say, trust us, we're the experts. Trust us, I have a badge. Trust me, I did X.
Hold on, I want to take that a little bit further. And what I really wish would happen is that these experts would be able to explain it, and they should be able to because they're experts, in a way that the common man can understand and become educated about the topic too.
But instead, what they do is they strongman the argument by putting their cloak of authority over it and be like, you can't pierce this.
Exactly.
It's the same thing that the judge did. He goes, you can question an election, but you can't prove it wrong, right? That because you're an elected official and you've got to toe the line. Right. See what I'm saying? So here she's asking this question. Well, you're not an expert.
You're a lawyer and an activist. You're not a doctor or a scientist.
Listen, we live in a democracy. We don't have a priesthood here. We don't have a high priest who are telling us we're in charge of our own lives. And Americans need to do their own research. And, listen, people say trust the experts. That became a mantra during COVID. I brought over 500 cases, and almost all of them involved a scientific controversy. My job is to read science, to learn it, and to be able to read it critically. In every case I've ever brought, there's an expert on that side and an expert on this side. When we brought the Monsanto case, there were 3 experts from Harvard, Stanford, and Yale. And we had 3 experts from Harvard, Stanford, Yale. And they were saying exactly the opposite thing. Saying trust the experts to me makes no sense at all. But trusting the experts is a function of religion and totalitarianism. It is not a function of democracy. In democracy, we question everybody.
We have a lot of questions I want to get to, but before we do, I want to direct our viewers to our website to go deeper on the science of vaccines, as well as Mr. Kennedy's positions on it.
Speaking of, here's our experts.
Everything
we can't
from
repeat it
immigration to
live.
foreign policy. We have resources available for you online and encourage you to check them out at newsnationnow.com.
Because we're experts on gathering the information for you. It's funny because on the left, they have this trope, do your own research, do your own research. They make fun of conservatives for doing that, but it's like, okay. Yeah, I'm going to do my own research. How do you know you're not being lied to? Those people aren't experts. Why? Because they have a college degree. Do you think the college degree does anything for them?
First of all, you don't need college to learn stuff, okay? Everything is available basically for free. You can learn anything you want for free. It is not a question of learning. There is a value that colleges have, which is like, seeing whether can somebody work hard at something, including a bunch of sort of annoying homework assignments, and still do their homework assignments and kind of soldier through and get it done. That's like the main value of college. And then also, if you
the main value of college is you finish something you started. That's it. That's it.
You want to hang around with a bunch of people your own age for a while instead of going right into the workforce. So I think colleges are basically for fun and to prove you can do your chores, but they're not for learning.
Trust the experts. He's got a degree. You know, it's so funny. I have a political science degree. So do I have an authority to tell you your political opinion? No. I remember I had a professor one time. He taught both religion classes and political science. And I was in one of the crossover classes where I got credit for both my religious undergraduate and my major. And he goes, oh yeah, no, you're a political science degree at a religious institution. So, you know, you absolutely are qualified to have an opinion. Unfortunately, your expertise is in the very area that everyone is qualified to have an expert opinion, politics and religion. He's like, so you have no bona fides. All you have is a reading list. Okay? Now, this attitude of trust the experts, and when the experts make these declarations and explain things and they use the tools they use, statistics and whatnot, oftentimes we get really negative policy that has really negative impact, especially when applied over time. Harmeet Dillon addresses this when it comes to discrimination in the workforce. How did we, in the name of getting rid of discrimination, end up over discriminating?
The line we were discussing, which I'm a big fan of, is disparate impact seems to it literally makes everything illegal because nothing is actually equal except, I guess, true random chance, right?
It really shifts the burden away from the plaintiff and to the employer to defend themselves. And when you use statistics, as you know, Mark Twain famously said about statistics, lies and damn statistics, you know, you can chop and slice and dice them and prove anything. You know, we have statisticians here in the Civil Rights Division who you can give them a premise, they'll be able to come up with some formula to prove it.
Did you hear that?
Oh yeah,
we have some statisticians here in the Civil Rights Division that will just do whatever we want. Here's a premise and go make it work, so we can present it in court and put someone in jail or fine them.
That's not how we should be running our businesses or our world. And so, as to Title VI, when the United States gives federal funds, whether it's in a contract basis or grants, we have now issued a guidance that says that this 50 years of discrimination against, frankly, law-abiding practices in businesses and recipients is over. It is harming a lot of people. It is wrong. And you should go back to having to prove intentional discrimination. By the way, there may be statistical cases to be brought there. So we're not banning the use of statistics. What we're saying is we're not going to let people use statistics to assume a default of discrimination, and people are going to have to prove their cases. And that includes the government sometimes. That includes me. If I have to bring a case against a school district or against a university, I have to use my evidence and prove the case, not just to have a default assumption of discrimination, because that has hurt so many people in our country. It has eroded merit-based hiring. It has put companies on the defensive. It has encouraged and now institutionalized quotas from every institution, including the boardrooms of America's largest corporations, because they're all government contractors. And so this is so damaging. And if we can just reverse that back to an assumption that Americans are good, generally speaking, we follow the law. If something bad happened to you, prove it with intentional discrimination evidence. I think that is really a great development for all Americans.
Because the line we were discussing, which I'm a big fan of, is
the individual is responsible for their choices. And they're not supposed to get hung up in some statistic that says this company overhired white people, so you got to go. And we're bringing in Betsy Sue, who says, can I ask you a question? I know that was really discriminatory.
That was pretty bad.
But that's what's going on, right? The trust the experts crowd, the trust the statistics, and then statistics get manipulated to show that there's broad spectrum discrimination, which isn't happening, but it convinces people like the person we played at the beginning of the podcast who's like, I'm so superior because I'm white, and I know that, and I know that's why I get the jobs. So you guys need to quit your jobs and give it to black people. Of course, you wouldn't volunteer to quit her job, right? We about ready to run an ad here?
No, I've been trying, but it's saying we don't meet the requirements.
How is that possible? We got
I have no idea.
What's going on?
It must be broken.
It's crazy. Okay. Another thing that happened yesterday, and I didn't know that this was going on. And again, there's so many things that we don't know are going on. Only people in the arena that are actually dealing with this sometimes know what's going on. Right. But one of the things that was happening, and 39 states around the country, is that when someone's parents died and they became orphans, they oftentimes go into the foster care system.
Okay.
If the parents had pensions, retirement plans, et cetera, the rightful, lawful, legal beneficiary are those kids, those orphans.
Okay.
Did you know the states were stealing those pensions and, assets of those kids in foster care system? Yeah. So RFK addressed this.
I'm F. Kennedy Jr., you're HHS Secretary.
I'm Alex Adams. I'm the Assistant Secretary for the Administration for Children and Families.
We're here today to talk about a development that speaks to the very heart of our work, protecting children from systems that lose sight of their best interests.
Protecting children and everybody from systems that lose sight of their best interest. We've got a homeless program that encourages homelessness. We have a national security system that invites terrorists into our country, right?
At HHS, our guiding principle is simple. Every child deserves a home and a fair chance to thrive. But when state agencies stack the deck against children, we step in.
That's exactly right, Secretary Kennedy. What we've seen at the state level is in 39 states, when a child's parents die and that child enters foster care, that child is entitled to the survivor's benefit that those parents had earned. What 39 states are doing is they're taking those dollars from those foster youth and using those to offset state agency costs. It is wrong. And that's why we are notifying 39 states today of that practice and asking them to end this nationwide.
So they're taking the benefits that ought to go to the child, and they're taking it for the state bureaucracy.
That's exactly right. These were earned benefits that the parent had earned through participation in the workforce or other survivors' benefits. When I served as the director of the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare, I saw firsthand the tragedy that happens in our foster care system. Too many youth age out to homelessness. Too many youth lose resources that they could have used to set themselves up for lifelong success. I ended that practice in Idaho, and I'm here with Secretary Kennedy's leadership to stop this practice across every state.
Taking decisive action like this is why I asked Alex to come to Washington, and he has hit the ground running. He recently repealed 2,000 pages of outdated sub-regulatory guidance because rules should serve children and not bury them in bureaucracy.
My team also launched a national initiative aimed at right-sizing the ratio of foster homes to children in foster care. Today, there are 57 foster homes for every 100 foster children. We're partnering with states to change that. We're cutting red tape so agencies can spend less time on paperwork and more time on what matters, kids.
In the Trump administration, we're committed to ensuring that every child in America has the chance to reach their full potential. Thank you for your service, Alex.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary.
Could you imagine, being an orphan and knowing that your parents left you something, you get caught up in foster care, and then you go to get out of it, and you're like, I want to go to college. I'm going to use that money. Oh, I'm sorry. We gave it to your foster parents who abused you or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
You sucked it up in the bureaucracy.
Right.
Aged out to homelessness when they may have had resources that they could have used.
Yeah.
Dude.
That's not tragic. It's criminal.
And I actually wonder, my parents, took in my aunt, when my grandparents passed away, my aunt special needs. And so my parents have, guardianship of my special needs aunt.
Okay.
And of course, the assets of my grandparents go to her. My parents stepped in and became agents of the state to care for her. So they're like the foster home for her, the guardians or whatever it works. So they were able to keep the house and stuff like that. But that was all going out the door. If they hadn't stepped up to, be the beneficiaries of those assets by caring for the kid.
Wow.
Anyways, pretty interesting. Another thing too that's going on is when you listen to people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and so many of these other politicians, their big buzzword is affordability. Everything's expensive.
Sure.
That is a real problem. But again, clear eyes. How did it happen? CNN ran a segment where their little pundit on there kind of threw it back in their face. You guys are complaining about all these problems, but Trump's only been in office a little while.
You can look at the chart of inflation over the last 50 years, right? And you'll see two big bumps. On top of those big bumps are Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. And those cliffs that fall off are Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump. Your dollar is worth 20% less right now today because of 21% CPI inflation under Joe Biden. Your wages are $3,000 less because your average salary and your real American wages went down by $3,000. That's a Joe Biden thing. You can look at the chart of
That's
inflation
a Joe Biden
over the
thing.
last.
Everybody's complaining. It's so funny when you see these charts, right? It's like Biden inflation, and then Trump gets elected, and it goes like this, and now it's going like that. They're like, prices are too high. Trump needs to be impeached. Now, keep in mind that the clip I'm going to show you, inflation has happened the last 5 years. Significant inflation.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So $1 today is the equivalent of $1.20 according to his percentage 4 years ago. So you can just knock 20 cents off per dollar as far as spendability. Okay. So when you're talking about buying commodities, things that intrinsically hold value, an ounce of silver is an ounce of silver. A gallon of gasoline is a gallon of gasoline, right? The input to get it is static. And so as the dollar devalues, naturally the prices have to go up because the people who are drilling the gas have to go buy lunch, and lunch got more expensive. So there's a direct correlation. But at the end of the day, the petrodollar, anything, it's based on a commodity that is a weight and measure. 1 gallon of oil, 1 ounce of gold or silver. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So when you look at the cost of that, that's where you can see inflation. So when we're talking about gasoline, that's another one of those static commodities. A gallon of gas never is not just a gallon of gas. 4 years ago, when Donald Trump lost the election, I could buy 1 gallon of diesel at my gas station by my house for $1.87 a gallon. I took a picture of it. Okay. I took a picture of it. January 20th, 2021. 12 days before, or 22 days before I was arrested. I took a picture of the price of gas. Gas shot up. Right now, diesel's over $5 a gallon.
Yep.
So, but around the country, certain states haven't added on taxes. It's gotten pretty good.
Another $1.93.
Wow.
The God's Road. Gas prices in Colorado are extremely low. Colorado ranking 4th lowest nationally, according to AAA.
I came here out of my way to get gas because it's a lot cheaper here.
In El Paso County, the average gas price per gallon is $2.34, $2.41 a gallon in Pueblo County.
I mean, this is insane, right?
$1.93. Gas is $1.93, which is awesome. I can't believe it. I haven't seen these prices since 2021. I don't know.
What? 2021.
And then it was actually 20 cents cheaper because of the inflation factor. You're under $2 a gallon after going through a 20% inflation hike.
Why are gas prices so low?
Refiners are making fuel. Less and less people are driving, drives price down.
In other words, there is more supply, but less demand.
There's stations in Colorado that are $1.70 a gallon, and you haven't seen that since COVID. That's great.
Okay. No, gasoline does not work on a supply. Everything works on supply demand, but that's not what's going on here. It's not less demand over supply. Price goes down. No, when there's less demand, they actually raise the price because they have static costs.
Right.
So it doesn't jive.
For families, that's great for consumers. That's great for Christmas budgets.
Especially with the holidays coming up, every bit helps. So
for people who buy gas, they tell me that they hope prices continue to stay this low, or even better, go down in price.
How much does it usually cost to put, gas into your truck?
Oh my gosh. Well, I have a 37-gallon gas tank, so it's a lot. It can be $100 or more if I fill it up. Today, 1 second. It was only $44.
It was only
$44, but I put in 18 gallons.
Jeez.
22.4 gallons.
In Colorado Springs, Livewood, News 5.
Colorado Springs. It's under $2 in the country.
I remember when the gas pumps around here were all set to quit pumping at $100.
I know. I remember that. I'd have to run my card twice.
Yeah.
When I bought your family's business, the amount of diesel we were buying, we had dump trucks, flatbeds, excavators, loaders, skidsters. It was like $40,000 in fuel a month. It was staggering. And obviously I bought the business during the Barack Obama administration when gas was $4 plus a gallon. Trump came in and then drove prices down. We became profitable. like that alone, you know, when you're spending $20,000 or $30,000 on fuel and all the work is the same, the calendar.
You're like, I figured out the magic.
And all of a sudden fuel prices cut in half. And we're like, you know, that 30,000, now we have 15,000 surplus. Woo! It was like,
hey,
we can plow it back into the business.
Company party.
Oh my goodness, company morale. So yes, now the last administration just stood up and lied to you about the economy.
Mixed signals in terms of what that looks like. But inflation is down from where it was. As measured by the overall CPI, it has slowed to an average 2.5% pace. This is down from what the president inherited. The president inherited 2.9% in January. Today, it's at about 2.5%. So we're trending in the right direction with more to come. And I would remind you, when President Trump left office in his first term, inflation was 1.7%. And the previous administration jacked it up to a record high 9%. So again, in 10 months, the president has clawed us out of this hole. He's kept it low at 2.5%. And we believe that number is going to continue to decline, especially as energy and oil prices continue to decline as well.
Maybe it wasn't high under Biden. They're just saying it's not.
Well, nobody reported on it being high under Biden. The predecessor was standing at this podium, but now you want to ask me a lot of questions about it, which I'm happy to answer. But I will just add, there's a lot more scrutiny on this issue from this press corps than there was. Well, in the previous administration said that too. My predecessor stood up at this podium and she said inflation doesn't exist. She said the border was secure. And people like you just took her at her word. And now those were two utter lies. Everything I'm telling you is the truth backed by real factual data. And you just don't want to report on it because you want to push untrue narratives about the president.
My predecessor got up here and said inflation's not a problem. The border's closed. And you guys were like, yes, it is. Peasants, the border's closed. Well, then where did this Guatemalan family that's got 22 people come from next door? And they tell us they're illegal. I don't know. They must have airdropped. You know what I mean? The border's closed. I don't know about that. I love that Elon Musk went down to the border and saw, that was actually a huge turning point for him, right? It's like, well, there's stuff about the border. He goes down to the border and he's like, it was a mass of humanity trying to cross that border. So now we have other great news. Again, this Trump administration is doing a lot, despite all the things that we wish that would be different in the FBI and the DOJ. At the end of the day, the stuff that RFK is doing, that impacts real peasants. There's no more of a peasant than our orphans and widows, right? Like, if we can't take care of our orphans as a society, what can we do? You know what I mean? Like, that's the ultimate peasant. Someone
well,
who
and all the
truly can't
vaccination
stand for
work he
themselves.
does touches every person that's ever born. So
yeah, it's huge. So they're doing all kinds of stuff. Now, it's giving net results. Even people like Thomas Massey and Rand Paul, tariffs are a tax. Well, how about this? What if I could present some kind of way where the American people could maintain their financial liberty and not be taxed? And we could do the thing that you're chiming about every day, lower the deficit.
Trade balance minus 52.8 billion. That's a better, lower trade deficit than we expected. We were looking for a number closer to 62 billion, and that follows a revised minus 59 billion. Minus 52 billion would be the lightest going back to, wow, we're really going back. Well, my records go back to 1992, and to find a smaller number than minus 52 billion, we're all the way back to June of 2020.
So basically he's going, the deficit is decreasing, the trade imbalance. We're selling stuff, Ron. We're finally selling things. And we're buying domestic. Right. Probably, yeah, there's less foreign goods coming over because there's a decision to be made about how much volume you want to ship because you're going to pay a tariff and stuff like that, which then encourages American products to be on the shelves. So we have a rising GDP. We have record all-time stock market prices. We have record precious metal prices, which doesn't bode well for the dollar, but, you know, whatever. As long as they're not printing new money, we're kind of stuck with the money in circulation. Right. Dude, it's working. Right? Give this guy 2 or 3 or 4 years on this trajectory, take out a COVID nightmare, and we would be really strong as a country. The stronger America is, the better we preserve freedom and Western liberal values around the world.
yeah, let's just not do another COVID episode.
Yeah. Now, this is she's a New York assemblywoman here. Her name is Titus, and she's on C-SPAN, and they take a call on the Republican hotline, and we're going to listen to the beginning of the call, and then I'll summarize it and jump into where she talks.
Talk to Dennis next in New York, Republican line. Go ahead, Dennis.
Yes, I'm a veteran collecting Medicare. I've been trying to get cholesterol and blood pressure medicine under the Biden administration since 2021 to 2024. And I always had a hard time getting a prescription refilled or anything else. It got to the point I actually went down to the office in Western New York Medical. The whole room was filled with illegal immigrants going in and out. I couldn't even get to the counter to get a refill on prescription cholesterol and blood pressure medicine. Anyhow, long story short.
Actually, we're just going to listen to the whole thing.
A month ago, I was rushed into the hospital with heart failure and that, and I get there, and for the last 6 months, I come to find out that I got kidney failure and congestive heart failure. Not one doctor from Western New York Medical called to notify me. They knew about this for over a year, and now here I am, and I listen to you Democrats.
This guy had kidney failure. The doctors knew it, never let him know.
Saying that illegal immigrants were collecting Medicare and it wasn't hurting the American people. I'm dying right now because of them illegal immigrants getting in line before me. Our medical system and our healthcare system didn't even call to notify me to let me know about this a year ago. Do you have a response for your party and what they're doing to the American people?
Okay, so here we go. We get to see it. This is raw. This is how they think of you.
Well, let me say I'm sorry for your health problems, and you should have gone to your member of Congress and asked them to help intervene for you with Medicare.
Oh, go to your member of Congress and get them to do something that should be routine. You're just going to go get a prescription filled. Oh, you got to call Congress. You can't. You want Tyler? Call your Congresswoman. Really?
Oh my God.
Really? So, oh yeah, why don't you call and get a favor from a politician? I'm sure they'll exchange the favor for your vote.
But Biden's gone, so let's talk about what you can do in the future. As far as blaming,
no accountability
on the immigrants, U.S. law says that immigrants do not qualify for Medicare. So,
but you've been arguing that they do, and we know for a fact that they've been paying for it. Oh, the U.S. law. Well, if the law is not enforced, it's not a law. You are giving government services to illegal immigrants.
I don't know who was in front of you in line, but let's look at what caused your problem, see if we can help solve it now instead of just blaming other people.
Blame the guy on.
Let's look at what caused your problems instead of blaming other people. Well, I did go to the doctor to get checked out. They found out I had kidney failure, but they forgot to tell me. Oh yeah, no, I try to eat healthy. I follow the food pyramid strictly. I eat all the canola oil you can sell me. I use Crisco and margarine. I use enriched wheat grains that have all kinds of GMO products. Yeah, let's talk about why I'm sick.
I only hit the McDonald's on days ending in Y.
Well, dude, the thing is I see this as a absolute betrayal of the American people. You made us sick by regulating farmers and regulating agriculture and regulating our food supply, and big business, big agriculture put chemicals in our food. They sold us industrial waste products as cooking oil, right? All of that. And then you wonder why we have health problems. And then you put in people from the third world in front of us in line. This guy's got all kinds of medical problems. And we should talk about what caused this. Oh, I think what caused it was when New York banned local farmers markets. I think that's what caused it, lady. Okay. It is crazy. There are all kinds of things that are caused by manipulation of the system. Another thing that was caused by manipulation of the system is silver, which I'm a big fan of, right? Silver is shooting to the moon right now. JP Morgan just went long on all their positions. They've been short on silver forever. Like that's their standard position. They flipped long yesterday, which means silver's going to the moon.
Ooh.
And a lot of this is because silver is an industrial metal. It's a shrinking supply, and the trading market has mostly been paper because they fractional reserved their actual silver, thinking you'd never actually come and collect on your bullion, right? And so this woman from commodity culture is explaining that.
It always works like this. When something is suppressed for a really long time and then you let the brakes off.
Law and order, enforcing our laws, getting rid of corruption.
Then it shoots in a direction.
The pendulum swings.
So technically, silver's been suppressed for many, 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 many years.
law and order hasn't been exercised. The border's been wide open for many, many years. Are you surprised that you've got ICE officers running around your neighborhood trying to fix a catastrophic problem? I know I'm comparing silver to it, but the laws of supply and demand, the human nature, is pretty consistent, isn't it?
But it really was the start last year. And I think we talked about this, where in the US, where it's primarily a paper market, and the paper market has been leading the globe in pricing.
Which the paper market is created by experts.
But it started to shift last January into a physical market when the US imported a whole bunch of physical silver and a whole bunch of physical gold. And then we had backwardation where the current prices for delivery were much higher than the future prices. Because why would that happen? Well, because people don't think they're going to be able to deliver in the future, because silver is a diminishing asset. It gets used up in manufacturing. And it seems like the transition it's not complete yet, not by any means. And I think that's when we're going to see the 4-digit number for silver. But what's really happening is the physical, we're in a transition where number one, affordability matters again. And number two, supply and demand is ultimately going to matter again. And we're already in that transition.
Our entire culture is transitioning.
She mentioned a big word in there that I didn't know what it was, but it basically in my mind meant that there needs to be a reckoning.
Yeah.
Between the physical market and the paper market.
There has to be a reckoning between the laws on the books and how they're enforced. Yeah. There has to be a reckoning between services offered to citizens who bought into the program, voluntarily associated themselves with the nation of the United States. There is a difference between a country and a nation. A country is the land and her people. You are a product of the land. You volunteer to enter into a political association called a nation. I agree with the left when they're like, what's a border? Just an arbitrary line on paper. Yes. Because inside of this border, we have a political association. Our gang is bigger than your gang, right? So when you volunteer to go into it, you expect things to be the way it was sold to you. If you go to school and you get a job and you pay into Social Security and you save for retirement or you vest your pension, then we'll take care of you in the future.
Yep.
And it's all based on law and order. As long as the laws are enforced, growth will be natural, will respond to market conditions. But when you suppress that and you start having paper markets for commodities, when you start having laws that are put on books for campaign purposes, but they're never enforced, which misleads American people because in good faith, we'll follow the law, not knowing that our neighbor is not, which creates an unfair playing field.
Yep.
It's horrible. All right, guys, that's it for the public show today. You've got to stick around. Can we get an ad going?
We can.
Let's do it. Stick around for the ad. We only got one in this episode.
Ooh, let's do it.
And it's worth it. And you guys do need to get your morning coffee. This is a morning coffee show for sure.
Still haven't tried 1775 coffee. Now it's your shot. The 1775 starter kit just dropped. Only 1,000 units. You're getting the bold dark roast that hits hard, the smooth medium roast, and the vitality mushroom coffee for clean energy and laser focus. No crash. All single origin, small batch, toxin free and mold free. Plus, you're also getting a gold spoon clip because freedom isn't scooped with plastic. A frother strong enough to strip your coffee and your mother-in-law's opinions. And a black 1775 tumbler, $170 worth of coffee and gear, yours for $99. This is for the ones who've been watching 1775 blow up on Rumble, wondering if it's actually worth it. Spoiler, it is.
Oh, yeah.
Go to 1775coffee.com/studio and grab your starter kit before they're gone. Bold beans, clean fuel, and a morning routine that stands for something just like Rumble does.
Yes, sir. And we had a great, huge audience today. Big for us. Those of you on Rumble, get your comment in. We still have to get so many chatters every month, and we're still a little shy. We're only halfway through the month. If everybody went and commented right now, we would reach our goal for the month, no problem. And those of you who joined us on X today, thank you very much. Looks like we have a big audience there. YouTube, the one person on YouTube that's there. Hi. And of course, Facebook. So we're glad you guys are all there. Rumble is our home, and we would love for you, if you're a regular listener of the show, to join us on Rumble, get involved with the chat, and get involved with the community. We also, many people involved here are also over at 1776live.us, learning how to create personal solutions to navigate the world that we describe here every single day. All right, we're going to jump over into premium only, private, and we're going to be going over this J6 pipe bomb story. There's two big revelations that came out yesterday, and the one revelation came from Subcommittee Chair Loudermilk. He talks about some inconsistencies in the FBI story. Before we get over to private, Thomas Massey did another interview yesterday where he talked about this pipe bomber thing, and he goes, well, he still believes the pipe bomber is the Capitol Hill police officer, clearly. Okay. He's very concerned that this arrest kind of derails that investigation because it was being investigated. And he had a lot of different things to say. He's had more whistleblowers come forward with more information. And he basically says, if that's the pipe bomber, then immediately they need to arrest FBI agents and DOJ agents, because there's crimes involved on them as to why they didn't get this guy earlier. Yeah. Right. And so he's like, and then the fact that the prosecutor is in charge is like huge red flag. You know, this is the same guy who's trying to put Trump in jail. Now you're going to have him on this case. This could be impeachment number 3. Right. Like Trump did encourage this guy. Look, it was all him and he pardoned everybody. Right. Could get really bad. So Loudermilk's looking into this, and Liz Harrington, Trump's former spokeswoman, had a lot to say about this too. So